Hey there, CIS277. This week for session 6, we are, I'm going to say, in a rest phase in comparison to the heavy lifting that we had been doing for the previous 2 or 3 sessions worth of material. I am fully aware that the arrays tend to beat up on us because working with an array and finally having to work without pass by value it's different, frankly, than what we had been doing, with all of the rest of our developments to that time. Working with pointers is wholly dissimilar than what we had been working to, even though they're pretty closely related to what we see with an array. So I am pickled tink that here in chapter 10 we get strings because, number one, this chapter is kind of an anachronism, frankly. It is a holdover from when old versions of this text, so previous to C++11, we're talking, in the, time minus 20 years versions of C++, we didn't have the version of the C++ string library that we have now. We had what are referred to as C strings. A C string, in comparison to what we see with the strings that we've been using, are a little bit different. They are wholly more primitive. They are wholly more limited than what we have been using, really essentially since all the way back in chapter 3. It's the most bizarre thing. Like, when I see textbooks, and I have, we evaluated a bunch of textbooks before we settled on this one for the class, and this was the best of them. They all still included in the middle of the book this callback to C strings, and somewhere deep down inside me, I firmly believe that they're getting paid by the letter. So they're like, I ain't taking this out. We're making money on this. And then they go back to their BMW, they start it up, and they drive to their house on the hill. And that's how they paid for all of that. But I actually think it's good news for us here, because I have just been giving you essentially brain damage over the last 3 sessions, pounding on you about pointers and arrays and returning from functions and access to locations in memory and things like that, that probably in all of the development you have done, whether or not it's here in C++ or in Java or in JavaScript or in Python or in Perl or in any of our other languages, you have never had to worry about stuff like that. And here, this dinosaur, this living fossil of a thing comes back, and it's blissfully short, and frankly it is quaint in how simple it is, because we have been doing better than the C string library with the string library this whole time. So I am pleased for you for this session. I really, truly, genuinely mean that, because you finally get an opportunity to just inhale and breathe for a second and catch back up and not feel as though you're constantly concussed with the idea of a pointer or the idea of returning values that save to an array when we are calling to a function and all of these things. We get a chapter of rest. So that is what we see here in chapter 10 with C strings. The other thing to note, there are end of chapter exercises at the bottom of the chapter videos and the chapter code samples, of which they will be blissfully short. So yippee for this session, everybody. So let's get after it.